This is the third video that I'm making about Kingdom. If you have not watched the other two, the links are in the description. The first season of Kingdom has come out in 2012, so I was expecting the quality of the animation to be as other animes that have come out that year. But I was really surprised to see that it was not the case. The quality of the animation is on the same level as nowadays. It's great to see that more and more animation studios are updating their technology and the process of how they animate. Kingdom relies heavily on 3D, just like Fire Force, Demon Slayer, and other animes that are being made nowadays. It is becoming more normal for animes to be made this way, but I did not expect to see that in an anime that came out in 2012. I hope they all do the same, because not just the animation is better, but it's also so much easier and faster to make. I really feel bad when I see that a lot of animes are still being made in the old way. When I think about how long it did take the animators to animate a certain scene, it really makes me sad, since there are ways to do it better, easier, and a lot faster. And more importantly, have fun while doing it. I cannot stress enough the difference between these two processes. They are gigantic, so much so that I would consider a crime to animate in the old way, since you have everything you need to do it better, faster, and a lot easier. One thing that you notice in the first few episodes of Kingdom is that there are some unnecessary camera movements. I guess they were so sick and tired being limited with the way they used to animate and having to use tricks and shortcuts and things like that, and now they are compensating. But more than they should though. But that was only at the beginning. It has become very common now to use 3D to animate objects, buildings, and scenery, but not the characters. The characters in Kingdom are 3D, not. Here's the thing, they did mix things up. Let me explain the different processes. In 3D you model the characters, objects, and scenery, and then you texture them since everything is gray. But instead of texturing, they did draw or color on top of the 3D characters, and some of the objects as well. I guess since they were not used to texturing, it took them a long time, or they wanted the anime to look in a certain way, so they did decide to mix things up. And they did a great job with it. When I saw this frame, it made me laugh, because I did the same thing with the intro of the One Piece videos. Everything in this frame is 3D, except for the sky. I did the exact same thing with the intro. The only difference is that my sky is not even animated. It is just an image of the real sky I found on Google. There are a couple of reasons why I did that. In animation and visual effects, it is all about whatever works. It does not matter what you use as long as the scene works. In my case, the sky was taking only a small portion of the frame and was far away. And most people don't pay too much attention to the stationary things. So why go through troubles and make the sky as well when there is an easy way and it serves just as good? Sometimes in this anime there is nothing 3D, not even the scenery or the objects. So the whole scene is 2D. This depends on the scenes. Sometimes the characters are 2D while the surroundings are 3D, or vice versa, as you can see in these scenes. One thing that is really puzzling me is that the scenery in this scene, at first glance the animation looks the same as it was done 50 years ago. But if you pay attention to the details, especially the rocks, they are very detailed, and usually this is achieved by modeling in 3D. There are two possible answers here. The animators spent a lot of time on those rocks to make them that much detailed, and also to make the scene look like old animation for some reason. Or they did the entire scene in 3D and draw on top of them. Either way, this is very interesting. Now, one thing that is worth mentioning is that there are scenes where the characters and their surroundings are 100% 3D. But there are very few, and only in a few episodes of the first season. After that, the anime is made as I did mention earlier. Now, not that there is anything wrong with the scene being 100% 3D, but it takes skills, experience, and time. And for a weekly series, time is very short. The animators in Japan are the best in the world, but they did not keep up with the new technology. The fact that even using the old ways to animate and they are still able to achieve incredible things, this just shows how great they are. I'm always impressed. I learn new things all the time. The easiest way to tell the difference to an untrained eye is the hair. In the first image, the hair looks more like plastic. and also the tips of the hair at the bottom have an unnatural triangle form. And in the second image where I did color it instead of texturing, looks very different and more natural. Well, natural for anime hair standards. About the weird form at the bottom of the hair, well, as I said earlier about these animators being limited how they used to animate before and now they are overcompensating. The reason the hair did end up looking that way is that they were trying to make it more detailed and layered and not make it as a blanket. But as I said, that takes time to get it right. So they reverted to the old way. They even put those white lines on top of the hair. This is the old way of creating more depth. One of the many reasons why the new technology is better is that everything in the scene, whether it's a character or an object, everything looks crystal clear. That's because they all are made individually. And that's why it looks so good, and they don't interfere or damage each other in the scene in one way or another. If the animators are not happy with how things are looking, they can change the lighting or the colors for that specific object in order to fit the scene. In short, there isn't anything they cannot do. You have all the tools to do incredible things. So I was really enjoying the animation. The last scenes of season 2 were in a forest, and everything did look great. Everything was shining, glowing, sparkling, beaming, gleaming. And then I watched the first episode of season 3. And all of that was gone. Here's an advice. Don't watch it back to back as I did. So, what went wrong? Well, a couple of things. The big thing is that the studio has changed. So, season 3 is being animated by a new studio. This is a small studio that is a subsidiary of the previous company that did animate the first 2 seasons. In almost 20 years, they did animate only several animes. Now, is the process of animating the 3rd season the same as the first 2 seasons? Yes. There is no difference at all. It is a mixture of 3D and 2D animation. But the problem is the same as in the example I gave about hair. They are trying to do too much and they have failed badly. Which is expected whenever someone tries something new. It's all about trial and error. But when they get the big things right and they fail in small things, it is infuriating. First of all, I have a big problem with throwing continuity out of the window. Why? Why would you do that? It is a series after all. What they are hoping to gain by doing that? I can understand changing things for the better, but not for the worse. So how did they get it so wrong? Besides this process being new to them, they were trying to achieve something more, which is good, but they flew too close to the sun and got burned. One of the problems that 3D animation has is that it looks bland. I'm talking 100% 3D animation. There is no stylization. That is due to everything being so detailed and real, just like things in our world. Now you can stylize the frame, but it takes time, skills, and experience. And none of those things the new studio has. The other way is to draw or color on top of the 3D characters or objects, which the new studio is doing just like the previous studio. But they did not stop there. They thought they can do better. The old studio knew what they can achieve and what cannot. If you look at the animation of season 1 and 2, you notice that the scenes are clear, bright, and simple. And the geniuses from the new studio thought they can stylize the scenes by using dark colors. That would have worked for 2D animation or a live-action movie. It does not work with 3D, at least not the way they are doing it. Then it seems they did realize the problem, or at least some of them, and instead of going back to how it should be, they did try to fix it by adding more dumb stuff. If you were wondering what's up with the weird glowing, well, that's all the side effects of these geniuses trying to stylize the scenes. Is it okay to use darker colors? Yeah, sure. Even though you are throwing the continuity out, but whatever. Who said that the continuity is important for a series, right? Is it okay to use lighter colors? Yeah, sure. Is it okay to use them both? Hell no. This is one of the dumbest things ever. That's how you end up with those weirdly colored and lightened scenes. Maybe the reason why the minister is glowing like that is due to the mother of the king throwing divine water on him. That would explain that weird glowing. But the weirdest thing here is that the footage is distorted and blurry, You cannot see it clearly. It looks very low detailed and quality. Do you know what is weird here? This is 3D animation. That is not possible. I'm really curious to know how did it manage to achieve that? How did it manage to distort the animation? I took a random frame and I spent 5 minutes working on it, trying to bring it to normality. And this is the result. The first image is the original. The second image I tried to sharpen and some other things, and the third I tried to give a more cinematic look. Since the way they did use colors, it seems that they were going for something similar. Now, I'm not saying that this is how the anime should look. Like I said, I spent only 5 minutes. Even if this frame looks better, this doesn't mean that every frame will look better. So you have to balance things out. Otherwise, you will end up with the same result as they did, where there are parts of the animation that is weirdly glowing, or lightened, or distorted. The only explanation I can think of is that they did not know how to render the animation properly, or they made a mistake. When I did render the animation from the 3D software, I did render it in images, and not in video format. And then I did put into a compositive software, and from there I did render it as a video. Maybe in that process something went wrong, and that's why the animation sometimes look distorted and blurry. The other weird thing is the armor of Shin. Animation-wise is very wrong, but also story-wise. Here's why. I think they gave Shin a unique looking armor in order for him to stand out in the crowds, since he is the main character. If this was a good idea, the author of the story would have given Shin an armor since chapter 1, and let alone something unique. The reason why I did not do it is due to the character development. There is internal and external character development, and the armor, weapon, and horse are part of the development in this case. And the external development should not overtake the internal development, because then there would be problems. Do you know what would have made Shin stand up even more? If he would have used the shell that Oki has given him. In the story, the author said that he is not using it because he is not strong enough, which makes sense, but also that is a weapon that usually generals use it, so I think he will use it when he will become a general himself. So what the anime staff did was pointless. They should have left things like those to the writers and focus on their job. Now let's talk about from the animation's point of view. I was really surprised when I saw it, and I still am. There is no way I'm getting used to it. The colors of the armor are wrong in more ways than one. First of all, the blue color that they are using for Shin's armor is completely different than those other armors. But not just that, that kind of blue it is not used in the scene at all. That's what it is making look so bad and out of place. It looks like someone did put duct tape on top of the frame. And also that kind of blue there is no way to get during the day. You can apply those colors during the night and not day. And that's why it is making it look even worse. But I hope in time they will get better and correct their mistakes. There were big improvements from the first episode of the first season to the last episode of the second season. And there were some small improvements from the first episode of the third season to the last episode. There are some scenes that the animation looks clearer, and the colors and lighting are normal. But then you have scenes like this, that crush any hope I had for things to get back to normal, because scenes like this shows me that it is not a mistake, but they honestly believe that this is how it should be. Let's look at these two frames. The first one is normal, still different than the other seasons, because continuity is not a thing. There is no distortion in this frame, but here's the next frame of the scene. A mysterious fog appears. Someone saw that frame and thought, this scene needs fog, because it looks too clear and some distortion will make it better. I'm hoping beyond hope that maybe the reason why Season 3 has not returned yet, when other animes have, is due to them fixing problems like that, but that's unlikely. The other thing that did change from the previous seasons to the current one is the soundtrack. The old soundtrack sounds ancient, and it did fit the period in which the story takes place. But the new one is completely different. It does not sound ancient at all. It is very modern. But this change, I don't mind it at all, because now the soundtrack is 10 times better. They are not limiting themselves at all. They are throwing every instrument they have, even the kitchen sink. If you are going to change something, then make it better and not worse. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.